Do you ever think that maybe you were born without that gene that some people have for being organized? Or do you ever say things like this to yourself? I just can't get organized no matter what I do. Well, here's the simple truth of the matter. There is no gene for organizing, so you're not missing anything there. And all that negative self-talk you're telling yourself about you just can't get organized, that's not helping you out any either. So stop doing that. The simple truth is that organizing is a skill that you can learn. Hi, if we've not met before, I'm Shelley from Taming Frenzy. I've got 11 tips today that are simple, that anybody can work on applying to help making being organized a little bit easier. The first step is to write things down. Now, I'm the first one to admit that I do not depend on my memory. I learned a long time ago that if I depend on my memory and my mind to try and remember something, I'm going to end up disappointed, because 9 times out of 10, or maybe 99 out of 100, I'm going to forget. So as a result, I don't try to remember anything up here. That's what paper and pencil are for, or digital tools. So get in the habit of writing things down. And when I say writing things down, that can be on paper or that can be digitally. Either one works. But quit trying to keep things up here and start putting things either in an app or in a planner of some kind. The second tip that's also important is keep things in one place. Now, if you start writing things down, that's great. That's a wonderful first step. But if you write some things down on a piece of paper in the bedroom, and then you write something down in an envelope, back of an envelope, and put it on the kitchen refrigerator, and then you put something else on a sticky note or in a spiral, and then you just close the spiral up and don't remember where it is, you're going to end up with a lot of captured thoughts that are not doing you the things they need to do because they're not together in one spot where you can access them again. Now, the key to this is getting everything in one place. And if you're a paper girl, like I tend to be, that may be in your planner or that may be in your brain dump journal. And I've got a good video on that for you to take a look at. If you're a digital person, that may mean having a particular app that you use, that you open up and put things in your phone. But get in the habit of keeping things in one place, because this nonsense of looking for this spiral or that sticky note that's now fallen off the door, or trying to find that envelope that somebody else wadded up and threw in the trash, that is not going to work for you. So do yourself a favor, put everything in one place. That way you'll know where it is when you need it. The third tip is to do the things that you can do to stay healthy. Now, I'm going to be honest here. I was not good about this when I was younger, and I have done a video and been very frank with people. I have stage 4 cancer, but I don't let that define me, so that's not the point of this video. But do the things that you can do now to stay as healthy as you can. Work on your nutrition, drink the water, cut out the junk food and the processed stuff, get up from your desk, exercise, move around, do the things that will help you to stay fit, because trust me, when you get to the point that you are not your healthiest, you end up spending a lot of time, and I mean a lot of time, you end up spending a lot of time making trips to doctors, having tests run. It's expensive and it's time consuming. So take the easier steps now, because it's easier now than it is later. The fourth tip is to use technology to record your thoughts. Now, I tend to be someone who tends to think out loud. I had a secretary who used to laugh at me because, she would think I was talking to her and I'd say, well, no, I'm just talking to myself. It was kind of embarrassing, but after a while I just owned it. But get in the habit of using technology to record your thoughts. Most of us have our cell phone close to us most of the time. Turn on your voice recorder. Say the things that you're thinking, whether it's something you need to remember or just a thought or idea that came to you, but get in the habit of recording those thoughts. That way, when you're ready to come back to your digital app on your computer or, your paper planner, you can just open up that recorder and you can get those thoughts, those tasks, those to-do items, and those thoughts of inspiration, and you can put them where you keep them. A fifth tip is to get in the habit of calling ahead. Now, if you are fixing to get out and go run some errands or meet somebody, or if you've got to go pick up an item or something, it never hurts to call ahead and check and make sure that the other person is running on time or that the store is open and has what you are going to pick up. In other words, you can let your fingers do the walking, to quote a old, Yellow Pages jingle or whatever it is you call it. You can let your fingers do the walking, make a quick phone call, verify that it is worth getting out and taking your time to go do whatever it is you need to do. That way, you are not wasting time and then getting there and finding out, oh, the store's already closed, or, oh, that person changed their plans. They're not planning to meet me after all. Or, oh, that airplane's not on time. It's been delayed 3 hours. Get in the habit of calling ahead. It is so much easier to make a phone call than it is to make a drive. Number 6, start using the power of suggestion to improve your memory. Like I said in the opening, that negative self-talk where you tell yourself, I just can't remember anything, or I just can't get organized, that stuff is no good for you. All it does is create a self-fulfilling prophecy where you tell yourself over and over, I just can't get organized, or I just can't remember anything. And then lo and behold, you can't get organized and you can't remember anything. And you know what's a surprise? Is nothing about that. Nothing about that is a surprise. The only thing that's a surprise is that we're sometimes surprised when our negative self-talk comes true. Instead, reframe it. Start saying things like, I can get organized. This is just a skill I need to learn. Or, I just need to get this habit in place, and then this will be much easier for me. Or, my memory is fine, but I also use tools to help me. But quit talking negatively to yourself, because yourself, unfortunately, will believe you. Number 7 is to use email and tech reminders. If you're at work and you have some thought, you can either put it in your phone, or you can even email yourself if you're afraid that maybe you might not remember something. Most of us are in and out of our email inboxes several times a day. So if you've got something that you need to remember, shoot yourself an email, shoot yourself a voicemail, record that, but use that technology in the emails for those reminders to help your memory out. Number 8, sticky notes can be your friend. Now, can be your friend means if they're used appropriately. Sticky notes are for temporary reminders. They're not for long-term, that's not a way to record long-term things. And I'll give you an example. I used to put a sticky note on the back of our front door anytime I needed to remember to take something special to work. If we were having a faculty luncheon and I needed to take something, I'd put a sticky note on the back of the door. If one of the kids needed to take something, that wasn't in their normal routine to school, I'd put a sticky note on the door. That way I would see that sticky note as we were getting ready to open it and head out to the car. Otherwise, I might not remember. But that's a temporary reminder. Don't use sticky notes to try and remember things that are long-term. You can use it for just a teeny little bit until you get it in your permanent storage. But use sticky notes appropriately, and they can be your friend. Number 9, use timers and alarms. For example, most of us need to move more. Something that you can do is use your cell phone alarm clock function to go off every little bit to remind you to get up out of your chair, to walk down the hall, to walk to the water cooler, or whatever it is you need to do. But that will help you to get your body up out of that chair and remind you to go move a little bit. There may be other things as well that you need reminders for. If you've got a favorite program that comes on, I used to have one that I really liked, but I would forget to go watch it because it was on a broadcast station. I don't watch a lot of those. I would set myself a reminder for that time every week and a few minutes early to remind me to go and record or to watch that particular TV program. The technology's there, and if it's in your phone, it's probably close by 24 hours a day. Make it work for you. Number 10, use visual reminders. A visual reminder can be anything from a star chart to a habit tracker, but something where you are actually keeping track of the things that you're doing, and you have it someplace you can see it. Now, I'm going to tell you one that's a little more of a physical reminder, and it's going to sound silly. I've told it to my husband. He thinks I'm nuts. But when I walk into a room and I need to remember to get like 3 things, if I will simply do this with my hand, it will remind me when I get there, and then when I invariably ask myself, gee, what did I come in here after? I can look at that and know that, okay, I came in here for 3 things. And somehow, I can't explain it, but somehow seeing my 3 fingers like that reminds me what they were. And I remember, amazingly enough, where if I had not done this, I would walk in there and I might remember one thing if I was lucky. More likely, I would remember none of them, which was more often the case. So use those visual reminders or physical reminders. They used to talk about people putting a rubber band on their wrist and snapping it to help them remember something. Whatever it is that works for you, use it. No shame in it. And then finally, number 11, anticipate problems to help prevent them. Now, this actually is the thing I think is one of the most important, and it's actually what my sight taming frenzy, a big part of what it's about. By anticipating the things that can go wrong, the things that can turn into problems, we can then step back, analyze that, and think of solutions before they ever happen. And surprisingly, when we think of solutions or alternatives, a lot of times just the act of doing that will prevent some of those problems anyway. For example, we used to live in an old house, and something that frequently tended to happen was a toilet would go to backing up. Well, after that happened a time or two and we had some carpet that got all nasty, we finally solved that problem, and we decided that, okay, we're going to buy a plunger for every toilet in the house and keep it there. Well, whether it was because the plunger was by the toilet and it knew, the universe knew, or because of the fact that it was there where one of the children could grab it right quick and start plunging before it became a problem, but we began to have less problems with the toilet overflowing. So anticipate things. Sometimes sit down with yourself and think about the things that can go wrong, that could cause you a mishap, that could be a problem, and start thinking of alternate solutions so that when they do happen, if they happen, you have already thought about contingencies and what you're going to do. This is simply contingency planning in a nutshell, but it is something that will help you get organized and help prevent a lot of those problems. So you can see from these 11 tips that they're not difficult. They're not complicated. They're not hard. You might just work on instituting one or two at a time until those become automatic to you and just kind of part of who you are. But working on these tips will help you become more organized. It'll help you remember things better, and it'll make your life so much easier. You won't have to then curse the fact that you didn't get the organizing gene or wonder if there's something wrong with you. You just got to work on a few simple tips. That's all for now. Until next time, go tame some of your frenzy.